My expectations of the class or the seminar here are kind of open-ended. I'm real unclear as to how we're going to do this process, so I'm here to learn, and hopefully we'll get some procedures together that will help us through our work processes.
When you're in a structured environment, it's obvious that you have some constraints. There are things you can and can't do. In a non-structured environment, you're pretty much free to express essentially any views that you'd like to express and get into subjects that perhaps in a structured environment they would not want to address.
I'm kind of leery of an open structure. It's not something I'm used to. It'll be interesting to see how open it gets, as far as it could turn into a free-for-all, or you could get some real information out of it.
I fly by the seat of my pants a lot in what I do in my job. So for me to come into something like this, I have general ideas in my mind that I want to present, but nothing really structured. So with no structure at the outset, it's going to be very easy just to let things flow and see what happens.
What I'd like to personally take away would probably be a better sense of direction as where we plan to head in the future. I think right now, because of all the reengineering efforts that are going on in the transitional phases, there's a lot of questions, so I hope to obtain some answers.
A lot of my feelings as far as what I want to get out of the next few days is to find out what direction we are going in, what I can do to help.
And by the end of our time together, that's 3 days from now.
Open space typically works best when four conditions are true. When you have high levels of diversity, either in terms of ethnic groups or professional groups, when you have high levels of complexity in terms of the tasks to be done, where you have high levels of potential or actual conflict, and when the decision time was yesterday.
I mean, we keep on doing, let me get this.
Well, when we start in open space, everybody is sitting in the circle, and basically what we invite them to do is to identify any area or issue. And please note, I didn't say problem. Any area or issue for which they have some real passion, and we'll take responsibility. And I make it as clear as I can that nobody has to do this, but anybody who wants to that can. And furthermore, that it's tremendously important that everybody understand that if at the end of the day your pet peeve or major issue or real passion is not on the table for discussion, there is precisely one person who is responsible for that, and that, of course, is yourself.
And working with less structure and more independence.
We invite people to come and write their passion, if you want, down on a short piece of paper. There are no speeches at this point. One of the reasons we can go through 160 task forces in 30 or 40 minutes with a large group of 500 people is as fast as they can say, my issue is, my name is, we're on to the next one.
And we're going to work on it. And I got a couple of things for you to
So they write it down on a piece of paper, they put their piece of paper up on the wall. Along the way, they will pick up a Post-it that says the time and the place where they're actually going to meet. Post-it goes on their paper goes on the wall. And basically, at that point, as far as that person is concerned, we're organized. We keep on going until such time as there are no further issues.
Well, why not? Well, because I didn't have the courage.
And then the next step is for people to actually go and sign up, literally write their name on the pieces of paper for the issue discussion areas that they want to go to. The person who convened it is responsible for convening that session. Now, they don't have to be expert, they don't have to give a speech, they don't have to do anything but create the space, hold the space, create the space within which the other people can gather. That's their first level of responsibility. Second responsibility is to gather the discussion and report it out. And at this meeting, we're using a set of computers. You don't have to do that, but that's what we're using here. By the end of the open space program, in this case, first 2 days of it, we will produce and distribute a full set of proceedings to all participants.
When he got through with the instructions and said, all right, come up here and with your passions, I thought there would be a little tentativeness, but boy, everybody jumped right out there. There was a lot of enthusiasm. That really impressed me.
I'm feeling real surprised. I think that this hit right on target. In fact, feel like I'm going to get a chance to express my opinion and be able to add something.
Well, I guess what I've learned from today's work is that I perhaps have to concentrate more on the things over which I have the most control and have the most influence in my ability to change, and tend to dwell less on those larger issues over which I have minimal control.
On this second day, I'm hoping that I see more evidence that this isn't just a gripe session, that we're actually going to make a difference, that we will come up with some answers for problems that will be used.
Open space, at least in a 3-day format, has very different characteristics on each of the 3 days. In the first day, what you tend to get is a very intense conversation, and there's a level of intensity. It's not so much tension, but intensity. People are very concerned to be at the right meeting at the right time, and it's not bad. It's just, I find it a very high energy situation. The second day marked characteristic, just in terms of the feel of the place, is that it's mellower. People have come to recognize that the important thing is the conversations that they are conducting. It's not actually being at every meeting every single moment. They not only recognize, but they deal with, I think better, if that's an appropriate word, the business of really taking charge of their environment.
It's over with. You have to support one another.
There are 4 principles and 1 law that govern our life, if you want, together in open space. And when people first hear them, they think of them as, at the minimum, strange, and maybe worse than that. But the interesting thing is they very quickly shape and form the behaviors, and people carry them out. 4 principles are: whoever comes is the right people. And what that reminds everybody is that you don't have to have the chairman of the board and 100,000 people to get something done. You have to have people who care about doing it. The second one sounds like a no-brainer, but we get tripped up on it a lot. It's whatever happens is the only thing that could have. And what that reminds us is that there's not too much point in worrying about what might have been, could have been, or should have been. What is the only thing there is at the moment. And then the third one is whenever it starts is the right time. And all managers are sure this is, well, at least heretical and probably blasphemy. But the truth of the matter is that creativity and spirited interchange don't take place because of a clock. And then the last one, of course, is when it's over, it's over. And what this says is that you never can tell in advance how long it's really going to take to deal with an issue. Sometimes it's going to take 10 minutes, in which case it's over. The law of 2 feet says very simply, if at any point during your time together you find yourself in a situation where you're not learning and you're not contributing, use your 2 feet. Go somewhere else. Do something useful. Go to another group. Go down and enjoy the sunshine, take a deep breath, do something, but don't waste time. Don't sit there feeling miserable.
Yesterday there was a passion, but I think the passion was such that people wanted to vent. They wanted to get out what's making them hurt inside, their frustrations, and they wanted to direct anger at someone, anyone, just somebody who would listen. And today what I'm feeling is that the passion has changed to the sense that, all right, now I really want to get down to it, and I want to find a solution. I want to point a direction for us to do something about what I was crying about yesterday.
We have one more day, and let me talk a little bit about that. When you get here at 9 o'clock, you will have, God willing and the creeks don't rise, the book in hand. And what we'll do is spend an hour or so, but what I want to suggest to you is that you take that time to kind of go through the book, read the issues and the statements that you haven't read before, and then what we're going to ask you to do is to identify, each one of you by yourself, identify the 10 issues which for you, in terms of yourself, the customers, and the company, are the most important issues.
The third day, typically what happens here is that we're going to be converging again. First 2 days you diverge, get all the issues out, get the people engaged in them. And the third day you converge back to try and clean them up a little bit, focus them, prioritize them. So in a sense, it's different quality of open space. It's kind of back to business. It's a transitional point from a really expansive, open environment to a much more focused environment.
To actually get the book in my hand feels real good. It took some time to read through all of the issues and what everyone had written up, and a lot of it was very insightful. There was also I also saw a lot of pain in a lot of the write-ups, and there's a lot of people that are real angry. So, but it's good to get all that out, and the far end would be constructive concerns and good solutions, because you have to go through the pain.
In looking through the book, I think I was very interested in looking through it, but as far as trying to come up with selections, that was extremely difficult. I think by far and away the vast majority of those issues that were raised were major concerns in our corporation today. So it was hard to kind of choose and prioritize which ones were more important than others. It all depends upon your perspective and what your particular hot button may or may not be, but they all have a definite impact on our business.
And there was a lot of passion displayed here in many areas. Also, it's a good sounding board, and people with the reengineering efforts need a vehicle to have their passions listened to and possibly resolved.
Now I know specifically those people who have passions, at least that parallel the ones that I have, whom I can now use as allies in perhaps solving some very, very specific issues that I'm dealing with.
I just want to say thank you also. It's been a real pleasure to be with everybody, and the phone company's still alive.
We all have a stake in this. This is our company, and we're the ones that are going to make it better.
I would like to thank everybody for showing the enthusiasm and the support.
I just wanted to thank all of you, because I
would be willing to bet you that most of the people before the thing started would have said quite flatly that taking 170 cantankerous folks, bringing them together for 3 days with absolutely zero agenda up front, and the thought of producing anything other than total mayhem, forget about chaos, but I mean past that, it was just unthinkable. And so that quite literally they've done what they all would have stated would be the impossible.
In the workplace, what I've seen is more of a positive attitude with our technicians out in the field that I've talked to. They feel their issues are being addressed, in particular rehabilitating the plant. And due to the fact that this is being addressed, they've got a positive attitude and approach, and they've taken that back to their yards and expressed that to other employees that maybe didn't have the opportunity to attend the session.
As a result of the open space workshop that I attended, we have now managed to put together a group of people who expressed an interest in the very same issues that I brought up during that session. Those two major items were ISDN provisioning and PICS availability. In the ISDN provisioning arena, we have managed now to implement some fixes to our current procedures here locally, which are enabling us to install those services in a much more timely fashion than in the past. In the arena of PICS, we're currently addressing that issue and are attempting to have some resolution by the end of this year.
After we finished our open space, there was a question in my mind, certainly, about how open space, what we would go with it, or what would be the results. We're working on the passions that came out of the original open space, but also a result has been that one of our supervisors had a mini open space, as it were, where he had an overtime problem, got the folks together, they all dialogued, used the open space theories, and came up with a solution that seems to be running real good and that the people are real happy with over the last month. So that was one result. Another result has been that we in the central offices had another open space, a 2-day, about 30 of us got together and we talked about how to redo our T1 or high cap services for our large business customers and how we could better do that. So we came up with about 15, 16 other passions that we're in the process of putting together and coming up with more solutions.